Debt is the state of owing money, and while this definition can be broken down even further into different categories, we will be discussing two of these categories: personal consumer debt and government debt.
Personal or consumer debt are debts that are owed as a result of purchasing goods that are consumable. To break this definition down even further, we will specifically be discussing student debt that results from paying a college education. The costs of college have increased by 538% in the past 30 years, which has led the total U.S. student loan debt on track to hit $1 trillion.
Government or national debt is fairly self-explanatory. It is the debt owed by the central government. The government is currently in debt $18,085,826,074,242, and it continues to add to the national debt at a rate of $93 million per hour. We will now talk about what causes national and personal debt.
Upon graduation, students who struggle to or are unable to repay their loans, which resulted from the increasing cost of college, can then be faced with student debt. The costs of college obviously vary from student to student, but some basic fees that most students have to pay throughout their academic careers include tuition, room and board or dorm, books and supplies, health fees, recreation facilities, student activities, and information technology.
The government is allowed to spend money that they do not have at will without any direct consequences. Debt and loans can be met with three main options: repayment, declaring bankruptcy, or defaulting. Defaulting is a failure to repay a loan.
In terms of personal debt, unfortunately, students cannot so easily walk away from their loans or find relief by declaring bankruptcy or defaulting, unless they are willing to destroy credit ratings for years. This will then make it difficult to obtain a credit card, let alone a car or home loan.
The best option for facing student loans is to use repayment plans. The most commonly used ones being income-related plans or risk-based student loans. Students factor their specific debt from college and current job into the decision of which repayment plan to implement.
Income-related repayment plans were designed for students who intended to pursue jobs with lower salaries, such as careers in public services. Income-related repayment plans work by lowering the monthly payments to a percentage of the borrower's discretionary income. Risk-based student loans, on the other hand, would be based on borrower's future ability to repay his or her loans and would allow student debtors to receive the fresh start they are entitled to.
If the government defaults on all of its debt, then the value of the dollar would drop significantly as investors stop purchasing stocks and bonds, and as the government would no longer be able to borrow money, which would in turn cause the economy to shrink. The majority of funds and reserves are kept in bonds, and as investors stop purchasing bonds, there is less and less money available. This would likely cause an economic recession similar to the Great Depression.
Kids who graduate with no debt end up being worth a lot more money than their classmates who have outstanding student loans.
Sort of makes sense. They were loans handed out to those seeking a better education, and when said loans were doled out, those recipients agreed to pay them back in full. But now President Obama wants to lessen the burden on the student loan community, which seems like a wonderful idea, until one realizes the billions of dollars this will cost each and every taxpayer within the sound of my voice.
We have seen how personal debt in the form of college debt and government debt face similar difficulties in terms of their magnitude, spending money not immediately at disposal, and facing the issue of repayment. We will now examine how these two are related, so how national debt affects each person at the individual level, and how personal debt in turn can affect the overall national debt.
Student borrowers' money is going towards paying off student loan and college debt instead of circulating back into the economy. This process could possibly be adding to the problem of the national debt rather than helping limit it.
A balanced budget amendment could help lower unemployment and job insecurity from higher unemployment. This balanced budget amendment would prevent the government from being able to spend more money than they make. This in turn would reduce the amount of debt and prevent all further debt from being accrued.
Research has found that in times of economic downfall, characterized by high unemployment rates, students tend to lean towards majors that will benefit them in the long run rather than majors they may be more passionate about, such as the arts. Choosing a major is an important factor for a student's future because it leads them to the careers and salaries that can then be used to pay off their student debt.
The government debt causes an increase of interest rates along with a decrease in production from manufacturers. This could lead to college tuition expense being affected by the U.S. government debt.
The high government debt causes inflated interest rates, which means the government is taking a higher percentage of people's income. This leaves each person with less money, which leaves students and their families with less money available to pay for their college tuition.